Ho, 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 and hello, folks. Welcome to another episode of Red Writes in You. I'm your holly jolly host, Tim Andrews. Now, today, we're sliding into the upcoming holiday we've come to love and at times stress over, Christmas. Where did it come from? Why do we deck the halls? And who decided fat guys in red suits should sneak down chimneys? So grab your eggnog, put on your fuzzy socks, and let's unwrap this holiday's rich and at times bizarre history. First, the big question: where does Christmas come from? Now, I'm a staunch believer as any that celebrating the birth of Christ is a sacred Christian tradition and the true reason for the season. I mean, if it weren't, it would be called Santamus, right? But before Christmas became associated with the birth of our Savior, early civilizations celebrated with pagan winter solstice festivals, especially in Europe. In ancient Rome, it was Saturnalia, a raucous week-long festival from December 17th to the 23rd, honoring Saturn, the god of agriculture. People feasted, exchanged gifts, and reversed social roles with slaves dining at the tables of their masters. In Northern Europe, the Norse celebrated Yule during the winter solstice. They lit Yule logs, sound familiar? To honor the sun and held feasts with plenty of mead. Yule later influenced many of the festive traditions we associate with Christmas, like the Yule log cake and even the term Yuletide. So how did the word Christmas come about? The word comes from the Old English Christus Messe, meaning Christ's Mass. Early Christians did not start recognizing Jesus' birth until 336 years after the fact, but the origin of the name first appeared around 1038 years after Christ's birth. It's a combination of Christ obviously referring to Jesus and Mass, which refers to a religious service. So Christus Messe literally translates to the Mass of Christ. Christmas evolved as Christianity spread and merged with these existing celebrations. It was essentially a spiritual takeover, blending pagan merriment with religious observance. And that's why we still have traces of those pre-Christian traditions today. So why December 25th? Ironically, it's probably because the church wanted to co-opt this ancient winter festival. Nothing says holy night like rebranding a heathen festival, right? Oh, and by the way, scholars are pretty sure Jesus was not born in December. Most likely, spring or fall. But hey, snow looks better under sleigh on greeting cards than grass does, so here we are. Now let's talk about the legend of Santa Claus. The original Saint Nick wasn't from the North Pole. He was a 4th century Greek bishop from modern-day Turkey who was known for giving gifts to the poor. Fast forward to 1823, and Clement Clarke Moore's poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." It gave us the sleigh and jolly old Saint Nick as we know him. And reindeer? Sure, they're real animals, but the whole flying thing? That's on Moore too. Rudolph, though, is a modern addition created in 1939 by Robert L. May as a marketing gimmick for Montgomery Ward. That glowing nose? A product of corporate America, folks. And the North Pole? Pure marketing genius. Thanks to an 1866 Harper's Weekly illustration, Santa needed a mystical home and the frozen North stuck. Let's be real, if Santa were practical, he'd live in Miami and save on heating. There is, though, a rumor going around that he tried it, but the fat shaming every time he showed up at South Beach in the mistletoe thong was just too much for his ego to handle. And speaking of mistletoe, if you've ever awkwardly kissed a coworker at a holiday party because of this little plant, you've got the ancient Druids to thank. Now, they believed mistletoe had magical properties and used it in ceremonies. Later, the Norse added a romantic twist. Mistletoe represented love and peace. And by the 18th century, the English took it a step further, declaring that if you stood under mistletoe, you had to kiss. And if you didn't, bad luck. So basically, mistletoe went from a sacred plant to the original Tinder swipe right. Now on to Christmas trees. This one comes to us from Germany, where decorating trees for the winter solstice was a thing. By the 1800s, German immigrants brought the tradition to the U.S. Queen Victoria and Prince Albert made it fashionable in England, and Americans said, if it's good enough for the royals, it's good enough for us. And how about those tree toppers? Well, stars represent the Star of Bethlehem. Angels symbolize divine protection. And if you've got a Santa hat up there, well, you just gave up on fitting the top branches into those little irritating plastic cones. And where did all those beautiful light displays come from? Well, before Edison gave us Christmas lights, people risked burning down their homes with actual candles on their trees. Now, nothing says Merry Christmas like a 5-alarm fire. But by the 1800s, electric lights became a safer and flashier alternative. As for caroling, now that dates back to medieval wassailing, which was basically knocking on doors, singing songs, and demanding booze. Hey, what happened to that one? But just imagine having to buy drinks all night for extremely drunk alcoholic singers at a makeshift karaoke bar outside your front door without the benefit of background music. Talk about getting into the Christmas spirits. Now, stockings, they go back to St. Nicholas, who allegedly tossed coins down a chimney, landing in socks hung to dry. You talk about your poor man's slot machine? Now, evidently, this was before he decided it would be easier just to squeeze down there himself with a huge sack full of gifts. How about gift exchanges? That's a blend of Roman Saturnalia and Victorian-era consumerism. By the 20th century, thanks to Macy's and Hallmark, Christmas had morphed into a capitalist wonderland. Christmas music is another mashup. Silent Night, it's German. Jingle Bells was originally written for Thanksgiving. Wrapping paper was invented in 1917 by Hallmark because who doesn't love spending extra money on something people tear apart in 5 seconds? Now let's talk about the history of Christmas in the good old USA. Christmas in America has a bit of a rocky past. It wasn't always the highly anticipated festive occasion that we enjoy today. The first European settlers brought Christmas traditions with them, but they weren't universally celebrated. The Puritans of New England even banned Christmas in the mid-1600s, calling it pagan and unbiblical. In fact, in 1659, the Massachusetts Bay Colony made celebrating Christmas illegal, with fines for anyone caught hanging decorations or taking the day off. You're a monster, Massachusetts Bay Colony. Your heart's an empty hole. Now, it wasn't until the 19th century that Christmas really took off in the U.S. Washington Irving's 1820 book, The Sketchbook of Geoffrey Crayon, painted a cozy picture of Christmas as a family-focused holiday. A couple of decades later, Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol hit the shelves promoting themes of generosity and goodwill, which resonated with Americans. In 1870, Christmas was declared a federal holiday thanks to President Ulysses S. Grant. And from there, it snowballed into the proud tradition and celebration which we recognize today. So while Christmas, or some form of it, has been celebrated around the world for ages, it has only been widely celebrated here for about 150 to 200 years. So there you have it, folks. Christmas is the gift that keeps on giving. It's a patchwork quilt of traditions, marketing, and a sprinkle of divine inspiration. It's part pagan festival, part religious observance, part giving, and part greedy capitalism on steroids. But isn't that the beauty of it? At the end of the day, whether you're singing carols, chugging eggnog, or staring at your lopsided tree, Christmas is about community, tradition, and the joy of togetherness. Until next time, this is Tim Andrews reminding you that even our most cherished holidays are a blend of history, humanity, and just a pinch of holiday chaos. Remember, stay the course, stay strong, and stay patriotic. Oh, and stay merry and bright. Remember, Santa's watching. God bless America and God bless us, everyone. Merry Christmas, all.